everything's starting to grow a little, but in the process, I'm seeing some problems that need to be fixed. So I'm gonna take you along with me today, just show you where we're at, and show you some of my plans for the coming week. So come along. Hey friends, welcome back to Simply Home and Harvest. I'm Jen, and today I'm going to give you a little tour of what my garden looks like right now. We are about, I'd say, 6 weeks into the growing season. I've planted seeds. I've probably had lettuce in the ground for about 6 weeks, and it's actually starting to bolt and come to the near the end of its harvest. Corn is starting to pop up. Tomatoes are starting to grow a little bit. Everything's starting to come out of the ground. It's mid-morning here, but it is already super hot. Where we live, we get crazy amounts of humidity, and already feeling it today. And I'm trying to hide under our walnut tree in the shade, but I keep hearing things scurrying around behind me. I know we have a couple of chipmunks, and we have a rabbit, and we probably have some snakes, lots of squirrels. So I don't want to stay here long, but it does feel pretty good in the shade right now. I'm really not too excited about moving into the sun, but there's work to be done, and I can't just stand here all day. So let's go. So some of you are probably going to ask me what our garden dimensions are, and I don't know right off, but I will pop that up on the screen as soon as I ask my husband. So it's about this big, and I'll give you some better numbers later on. This is a sweet little garden gate that my husband built for our garden last year, and he and my father-in-law actually constructed all this and worked really hard to dig these to dig holes for these posts and fill them with concrete. So don't think this fence is going anywhere, but let me show you what's inside. Of course, yes, everything is locally grown. Okay, so in one of my last videos I showed you that you could barely see some green popping out of the ground, and it's been a few weeks. So as you can tell, things have grown nicely, except for our broccoli. We probably started way too late in the season on it, and you can see there's a little head right there. So I'm going to leave the ones probably with heads and just see what they do. I'm not too optimistic, unfortunately, with the broccoli. See, there's a head right there, but see how it's bolted, and the lettuce is starting to bolt. So it's probably time for that to be at the end of its season. And this is, I think this is the black seeded Simpson lettuce. We'll double check on that. And it did so well. I mean, I was so pleased with it. The taste was wonderful, great for salads, great for sandwiches. So what I want to do today is get in here and harvest some of this lettuce. And you can see I tried the cut and come again method. I'm kind of standing, my shadow's getting in the way. But what I tried to do was go and cut every plant, every other plant, so that maybe it would come back and produce more. And you can see that that actually is starting to happen. So I'm pretty excited that maybe if I can keep it watered and keep some of these bigger plants shaded and like do every other one, and just cut the tops down on these, that it will just keep producing for a little bit longer. That's my hope anyway. Then my next row, I have a salad mix, and there's some different color greens. There's some arugula in there, and this one has probably just so far been the most gratifying thing that we've grown this year, because you can just see, I mean, it's so much variety. This looks like either the Butter Crunch or maybe some of the black seeded Simpson. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's a great salad mix, and we have enjoyed it. On this row, I've alternated onions and radishes, and you can see the radishes are getting there. They pop up. Let me see if I can get on this side. There we go. That's much better. They pop up pretty quick, within about 50 or 60 days. You can actually start to harvest them. I did check one yesterday, and they're not quite ready, so we'll have to wait a few more weeks on those, maybe a couple more weeks. But you can see that the onions are growing up, and we could go ahead and harvest these onions now, and we would have what you call spring onions, and you can cut them and use them in different dishes. But I want what's at the end of the greenery, and that's the actual onion bulb. That's what we're gonna wait on. We will probably be waiting into the summer a bit before we can harvest those. But anyway, I have a tendency, since we have a smaller space, to fill it to capacity. And I try to be patient, but if you get in here and you don't produce, then I have a hard time not digging you up and putting something in your place, just so we can keep things going. But I don't think I'm gonna have to do that with the radishes and onions. They seem to be behaving themselves. And then further down, we have carrots. This is my first year. Let me get a good shot for you all. It's my first year growing carrots. So you can see there's lots of pretty greenery, and they're not ready. But we might get a few carrots, and then we'll know what to do maybe for next year. Now, as you can probably already tell, I do need to do some weeding in this garden. A lot of work that really I wanted to get out here early in the morning before it got too hot. This morning when I woke up, it was about 68. My plan was to jump out of bed, get out here, get some stuff done, but I decided that I wanted to go for a walk first, and I went ahead and got that in, and then I got myself fed and the kids fed, and then we had a little family issue where we needed a plumber and we needed him quickly. And so we found one that, thank you Jesus, could come out early this morning. And so he came and found our issue and got everything working again, but that did set me back a little bit. So I don't know how much weeding I'm gonna get done today. It's getting pretty hot, and we have a busy week outside of the garden. For all of you moms that are involved in dance or children are involved in dance, this is recital week for us. So you know that life. And I'm gonna get as much done as I can this week, but I'll have to stop it at some point and just call it a day so that I can be a dance mom at night. But I'm gonna try to get some weeding done. I do want to harvest some lettuce. I'm gonna show you that, and stake the tomatoes in a proper way. You can see them right here. That's not the way I want them to stay. So we've got to redo that. And I've got some other issues to fix. But what I'm really doing is I'm taking a break because I found a little shady spot in the garden, and there's a breeze blowing right now and it feels really good. So I thought I would just stand here and talk as long as I can and enjoy that breeze. But no, I probably should get back to the tour. So let's get back at it. Okay, so back to our garden tour. So right beside the radishes, I have some sweet potatoes planted, and see there's a nice little row of them. When I got the sweet potatoes, maybe I'll insert a picture if I can figure out how to do that. When I got them, they looked dead, y'all. They looked like, why would I put this in the ground? It's already dead. But that's what they look like when you order them as slips, or buy them as slips and put them in the ground. They just look pitiful. But after a week or so, we had a lot of rain last week, I mean, they just perked up. So they are good to go. And I know they look close to everything, but by the time these sweet potato plants really start to grow, which will be mid-summer, they don't get harvested till probably the end of February. February, my gosh. No, we don't want to, not that long. Probably the end of September is what I meant to say. So here are the cucumbers. And they are coming along very nicely. We have, let me back up and show you, we have a trellis that we built. It looks like a volleyball net. Actually feels like a volleyball net. But we put that up. We've used it, I think we've used it for a couple of years, and the cucumbers do really well. And as they start to trellis, I have some clips that I will actually attach them to the net, and they do really well. I'll show you that when they start growing. But these are pickling cucumbers. There's also a Wisconsin variety and a Space Master, I think. I'll double check that and put that information on the screen for you. Everything in the garden we grew ourselves from seeds, but we had a really bad storm, some wind, and some heavy rains, and it took out 3 or 4 of our cucumbers. So I went up the road to a local farmer, and he had some that he was growing, and I was able to replace the ones that we lost. So aside from that, and aside from the Beauregard sweet potato slips that were ordered, everything else we have actually grown ourselves from seeds. So I just wanted to clarify that. But it did actually, all of it comes from seeds. We have a few more sweet potatoes, and my plan is, once the cucumbers are done, and they will be by the end of July, then I can pull these sweet potatoes together and they'll meet in the middle here, and they'll have plenty of room to grow. I did it last year, and it worked last year. I know every year is different, but I'm hoping for the same results, as we had a wonderful sweet potato harvest. All right, and then I've got Bush Lake beans planted here. And like I said, I need to get in here and weed, and I will do that soon. I also have wildflowers planted back here, so I know it looks like a lot of weeds, but some of it is actually flowers growing, and I don't want to mess with anything until we know for sure what's going to come up. All right, so this is a good looking bean plant right here. There's a couple, and I did have to go back and replant. Well, actually I had to stop for a few minutes just to give you an idea of how hot it is today. My iPhone said that it had overheated and the temperature was too hot for me to use it, so I had to take a break for a few minutes. It's supposed to get into the 90s today, I think like mid-90s, so I'm going to speed this tour up, and I don't think I'm going to do any hard strenuous work today, but I will tell you my plans. That's the only thing about living where we do. It gets hot, and when it gets hot fast. So we can go from one day we're in the 60s, and the next couple of days we're in the mid-90s. It's crazy weather here, but we just have to roll with it. Okay, so I think I left off at the bush beans, and so I planted the whole row here, and as you can see, only half of the plants produced. And I was only going to do one row, and so I said, well, I had an extra row beside it, so I decided I would go ahead and plant another row, and you can see that this is all that produced in this row. So I thought about trying again, but I might just take it. A lot of times when things like this happen and I try a couple of times, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna trust that God knows what we need, and maybe we don't need a whole bunch of green beans this year, and that's okay. We'll take what we can get. We're always just feel so blessed by whatever produces in our garden. Okay, so on this tour you're getting all of the details, the good, the bad, and if you came to see a highlight reel of a garden tour, this probably is not the one, because I'm going to show you that sometimes you don't get what you thought you would. We planted 50 corn seeds, a mixture of ambrosia and golden bantam, and the last couple years we've used these varieties. We've planted in this area, and we've had, well, no, we planted in this area last year. Year before that, I think we planted on the other side, but we've always had a wonderful crop. We still had problems along the way, but we've always had, like last year we planted 25 and we got 25 corn plants that came up. This year I thought, well, if we can get 25, let's go for 50. So I did some research on square foot gardening. I measured out, I planted, spaced them to where they would pollinate one another, and had enough room for the 50 plants. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are up. Now, this could be one of a couple of problems. I have seen a lot of birds in this area, and I know that birds like to pull the corn up when it's just above the ground, so that could be it. I also know that we haven't had a lot of consistently hot weather, and I know that corn really likes hot weather. The soil needs to be really warm for the corn plants to take, and I wonder if I planted my corn before it was warm, before the soil was warm enough. So I am going to try again And this is May 31st, but tomorrow on June 1st, the Farmer's Almanac says is a good day for planting corn. So we're going to try again with the Golden Bantam, and I'm going to try to fill in a little bit here, and we're going to hope for better results. And like I told you guys, and I'll probably say it 1,000 times on this channel, that gardening is trial and error, and we get what we get. We try our best to grow, you know, efficiently and effectively and be a success, but sometimes you're fighting against elements that are out of your control. So we'll see what happens. All right, so here's a little update on the potatoes that we planted. If you remember a couple of videos back, I did a video on how to plant potatoes and showed you how to shit your own potatoes and plant them from seed potatoes. So this is where we are so far. You'll have to overlook the noise in the background. This is where our Yukon Gold potatoes are right now, and I think the plants look amazing. Very happy with them. They resemble our plants from last year, and there are 3 rows of them. It's hard to tell because they're kind of growing together, but this is what last year's looked like, and we had an amazing Yukon Gold potato harvest. So I'm hoping these are a little behind the others, but not too bad. I'm hoping that we have as good of a harvest, and you know, we just put it in the ground and take care of it, and I do pray over it and ask God to bless the harvest and make it abundant, and that our needs will be met with it. And like I said, sometimes when things don't produce, I don't get too upset about it. I know that God will provide another way, or maybe it's just not something that we need a lot of, because gardening and canning and all that goes with it, oh, we have something going on here, all that goes with it, there's a lot of work involved. All right, moving along. This is my first attempt in a long time to grow okra, and I grew it from seed. And there's one that doesn't look so hot, but you can see this is a row of okra that we didn't have too much success. There's a plant, I think there's one, a couple here. So, you know, that's another one. I wasn't sure I wanted to plant okra, and it kind of like jumped in my basket at the seed store, like so many times before, and end up planting things and then thinking, why did I plant that? We don't even eat it. But anyway, so if we don't get but a couple plants of okra, we're probably gonna have plenty. Okay, so right beside our okra, we have some green bell peppers, and I started those as seedlings as well. I actually picked up a 59-cent pack of green bell pepper seeds at Aldi and thought, why not give it a shot? I have tried peppers from seeds in the past and really haven't had the best results, and I thought, well, maybe I just won't do peppers at all, leave room for other things. But it called out to me once again, and I answered and I said, okay, we'll try it. So far I actually like the way the pepper plants look, and they're not super big just because it hasn't gotten super hot yet. They like heat, and so once we get some warmer days, I'm sure they'll start to grow a little bit more, and we'll go ahead and stake them when that happens. I do see that there is something probably eating the leaves, so I'm gonna have to do a little research, check on that, and see what we can do to maybe help that issue. Okay, so I've saved the most in need of help for last. Please, tomato gardeners, do not judge me too bad. I know they look rough, and I'm gonna take care of them, but I just wanted to show y'all where we are starting. I'm gonna clean up the bottom, I'm gonna restake them, I'm gonna retie them, and I'm gonna get them healthy. I think I know what issues I have. This is a picture of what not to do. We've got better stakes. We've got over there, we're gonna stake them, we're gonna put better, some elastic ties on them, and not the garden ties that I have on them now. But the bottoms definitely need to be cleaned up, and that is where you can have disease issues if you don't do that and get those leaves out of the soil. So I'm going to show you a more in-depth look at that, but this is where we're starting give you an idea of our starting point. You can see some blossoms, and my tomato plants do take a little bit longer to produce just because we did grow them from seed. So once they go though, they end up being tomato trees. This one though I did break in the process of staking it. So sad, but it will grow back. So this is what we have right now. We're gonna get those looking so much better. But I want to give you an honest, in-depth look, because I think so many times we kind of see a highlight reel and, oh, everybody has beautiful plants, and we think they just snap their fingers and that's what happened. But gardening is a lot of work, and it's a lot of figuring out your mistakes and trying to do better the next season and trying to control pests. And if you are organically growing your garden, as we are very diligent in doing, then you have to find creative ways to control pests. I will tell you that right now all we have in the soil that I have added this year is just the black cow manure. You can pick that up at your garden center, any place like that. But this is where we are right now. I do have some organic fertilizer that I am going to put on here soon. Get that on and then I'll show you. But for now, this is where we are.